4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, if you're watching right now, put it in the chat that you're hearing us, wherever you're hearing us from. If you're watching a recording, welcome to Noble Warrior. My name is CK Lin. Noble Warriors, where I interview leaders, entrepreneurs about their journey from being an ego warrior to a noble warrior, so you can reclaim your purpose and your joy and do the same. My next guest is an author, is a course creator, is an entrepreneur in the technology and the publishing space. The startups that he has co-founded are now valued at $150 million plus. He has taught over 2,000 entrepreneurs, part of being Founders Institute and beyond. If you are interested in hearing more about this man, go to audvisor.com, AUDVISOR.com. Welcome, Rajesh Setty.
Welcome. Thank you so much, CK. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so glad to have this conversation with you, Rajesh. Our mutual friend, Esprit,
Yes.
introduced us. He said, hey, both of you are entrepreneurs. Both of you are working in the mental health space. You should meet each other. And I'm so glad you made that introduction to us. The
Many
number
thanks
one
to
thing,
Esprit. Very good.
the number one thing I wanted to talk to you right away is this. I was looking at all of the works that you've done in the past. You know, the volume and also the diversity of interest was quite impressive. Now, personally, I have no fear of learning. I know that I'm an infinite learner. I can learn anything. But it seems to me that you have no fear of publishing. So you can, you publish a lot of, mystery novels, comedy shows, thank you cards. It doesn't matter what it is. You're a creator, at heart. So tell us about your relationship to fear, because a lot of people, they may want to make a lot of things, but they want to stay in their lane, right? And for you, that lane doesn't exist. So tell us more about that.
See, the thing is, when I was very young, I started reading when I was about 4 or 5 years old. But then I don't come from a well-off family, right? So I used to go to the library, and then I would say, this month, I'm going to read this section. It didn't matter what the section was. But unfortunately, my mom says that I picked the novels section. So basically, I started reading any and all novels, any kind, whatever, like English or Kannada or anyone, it didn't matter. So I read about 700 books by the time I was 9. So, and if you ask my mom, she will tell most of them, almost all of them are useless books. But what happened was, when you do that, you almost think that you can predict how the story will evolve. So I used to play a game. This one I know where the treasure is, or this one who is the mystery killer. I would play the game, but I would fail. It would bother me a lot. And I tried to tell my friends that, this story is not right, because this should have happened this way, and they would laugh. Why do you bother? Just enjoy the story. But for me, I was not satisfied by just, I wanted to predict this is exactly what happens. Then I thought, when I was about 10 years old, I said, if I write my own novel, what I can make the characters do whatever I want. And so I wrote a whole novel, 200 pages in about 8 months. The madness actually began after that, because I said, oh, anyway, how many 10-year-old will write a novel? When I call a publisher, they'll put a red carpet welcome. So I think I should be published in about 3 months. That's how much naive and immature I was. So I did call the publishers, but no red carpet was put. But they would bang the phone, slam the phone down, and say, most people thought I was a prankster. So after about 50 rejections, I thought, this is not working. Because I think until that time, I thought they were all wrong. Then I thought, I am wrong, but then I didn't want to be wrong. So I said, okay, I need help. So I started writing to other authors, saying, this is what I'm stuck, can you please help me? But writing means there is no email at that time. So I had to write physical letters. Most of them never got a response. One or two of them said, wish you all the best. Don't give up, all those things. But so on steadily, I continued to. At some point, I said, okay, maybe everybody gets rejected 300 times. I'm still not even halfway there. I keep going. So after about 160 rejection, 3.5 years later, At 13 and a half, I got my first novel published, and I was the youngest writer of my state. So actually, that is not where I learned everything. So because in my mind, I thought, hey, somebody will publish it, and they'll ask me, "Is this the only book you have written?" So I'd written four more novels.
So
Thinking,
wait. Before you go further,
yeah,
I mean, let's just zoom into that moment
yes,
that between 10-year-old to however long they take
yeah,
for you to publish. I mean, that to me is courage. That to me is fearlessness.
yeah,
Or was it just naivete? You just didn't know. Because most kids, they may dream about being an author one day, right? And
yeah,
then the schooling, the parenting tell them, oh, you need to do all these preparation.
yeah,
But you just skipped the line. You said, I want to do it. So I did it. And even though people are laughing at you,
yeah,
thought you were pranking them, you kept
yes,
going anyway. So tell us more on, is this fearlessness? Is it courage? Is it inform, decision? Like,
yeah.
bring us back to that, to those years.
That's a really good question. Because whenever I faced fear or feeling bad, I would create more. I said, you know what? I don't know how to deal with fear, so I'll just create more. I kept writing a new novel, new something, because then when it is there, the uncertainty that comes with my own creation is sort of not very bad. The uncertainty that comes from somebody else involving in it is not very good because
So
I
wait, say that sentence one more time.
see, whenever I am creating, how much ever is incomplete, let's say I'm halfway through the novel, I'm very
Hmm.
confident of completing it, but I'm only dependent on myself, isn't it? So whenever I'm not dependent on myself, it's not very bad. It's incomplete, but it's I can deal with it. Whenever somebody else would bless this book and say I'll publish it, I don't have any control on. Whenever I face too much of I don't have any control on, I'll switch back to place where I have some control on. So that way, I'm always good because then there is incomplete and I can focus. So 70 rejections, 80 rejections, I say, I don't have any control on it. So I'll switch back to place where I have some control on it. Even here,
Mm.
something might go wrong. But I say, I am responsible. It's me, my motivation, my work ethic, my thinking. So in the process of getting rejected, I got four more books written. So I have five novels. At some point in time, I would say, I have written a novel. I would say I have written three novels. People
Uh,
would say, "Is this
s-
crazy
s-
guy or is it real?" So basically, when it was finally published, I still remember that exact moment. So I somehow got an introduction to the publisher through one of the authors, and then I took it. It's a physical, a handwritten manuscript. They don't have typewriter or anything. So I gave it to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, Prakash told me. Prakash is a well-known author in Karnataka. He told me. So he said you are coming. Let me take a look, and I'll get back to you." And then he turned around and then he started doing something. And again, he started reading the book right there. He was not looking at me. So I didn't know whether he asked me to leave or I stay. So I stayed. After 3 hours, he looked around and he said, "Hey, you're still here." I said, "Yeah, because I thought you will get back to me. So I'm waiting." So he said, "Oh God, probably he got sympathetic of me or something." He said, "You know what? This is a good book. How much do you want?" I said, that was a question I was not ready because
uh-huh.
I didn't know. I was only used to getting rejected. No, no, no. I'm so used to it. I was almost getting ready to leave, thinking this will be another no. How much do I want? I don't know. 100 rupees, I told him. It's like $1.15, something like that. Are you sure? He said, yeah, I want 100 rupees. He picked up a note, 100 rupee note, and gave it to me, and I had the deal. So it was, I mean, I don't say it's good or bad. For me, it was a milestone. So what
Mm.
happened then was what changed my life about everything that I am doing now has a major influence in the next 4 years. I thought this will be the milestone moment. My life will change. What happened next was even bigger.
Oh,
So,
wait. So before you go there, I wanted
yes,
to underline something that you said. I thought that
yes,
was really interesting because most people, when they being told no, the motivation goes down,
yeah,
right? They go home, they, you know, eat some junk food, sleep it off, whatever the thing, right? They basically go back to their corner
yes,
and then, but then not you, because you said, uh, I'm in control of my life. When I'm being told no, I'm going to go create more as a way to
yeah,
come out of that. So during the phase of rejection, you wrote three other books
yeah,
as a result. That is a very unique reframe of
Yeah.
dealing with rejection.
Exactly, because when people get rejected, they think it's all encompassing. That means they were rejected everywhere, and everything is no, no. They were just rejected on that project for that by that particular person in that current context in that situation. It's a very very small thing. People never reject it summarily. Nobody will say you are not good everywhere, all the time, forever in your life. No, they never said this book is not worthy enough for me to consider printing. That's a specific context in a particular time in life. At
Mm-hmm.
that point in time, it's a rejection. It's okay. I mean, in fact, I always think, imagine when I first pitched, and exactly the very first publisher published it. There is no thrill in it. There is no growth. Growth comes with resistance
Mm-hmm.
all the time, even in physical bodybuilding, or
Mm-hmm.
anywhere. Without
Mm-hmm.
resistance, there is no growth. Once you understand it, you welcome resistance. Otherwise, what's the point? There is
Mm-hmm.
no growth, and everything happens exactly the way you want to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You'll
It's
just
boring.
it's like boring,
Yeah.
isn't it? So the
Mm-hmm.
thrill is in the overcoming the resistance, because you know that by overcoming the resistance is where the magic of growth happens.
Mm. I love this mindset, and because we're in this mental wellness, mental fitness space,
Yes,
and let's see, how do I articulate this? It's very easy for a single setback to determine the totality worthiness of a human being. I've been in that space myself, right? Let's say my business fail, I fail as a human. And it's very easy if we believe that mentality,
mm,
then that would take us down to a very, very dark path. You know, my relationship fail, I fail as a human. My whatever fail, my health fail, you know, I fail as a human. That's a very, very dark space. So I really love the frame that, hey, it's a particular context, a particular project. They say no to this, but then the infinite other doors are totally still open. So therefore, focus your attention on those things.
100%. In fact, scriptures in Bhagavad Gita, they say very simple: attach yourself to the effort, but be fully committed to it. Detach yourself from the result,
Mm-hmm.
because once you detach from the result, because I think getting published is the result that I'm attached to. But if once I detach itself, and who knows, there may be something else bigger than this because I'm on this path. You never know, because sometimes you reach a destination by accident because you took a detour and say, "Oh God, I took a detour. I'm not happy." And the new place you reach is 10x better than the original destination, because you don't know everything and you don't know what you don't know. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always going to be there. You don't know how
Mm-hmm.
much you don't know, and in that space where you don't know, magic can be there. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have to be open to experiencing magic, and it is very rare that you experience magic in the space.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Impossible, isn't it? There's no surprise there.
That's
You
right.
already know it.
That's right. If you work on what you know that you know, at
Yeah,
best is incremental improvement.
exactly.
For those people and then those who are watching Noble Warrior, I trust that you're one of those people who are interested in transformative change, exponential change. So that would, in my mind, would only happen at the edge of what you know that you know. In often, in fact, in the area that you don't know that you don't know, in the blind spot area. So that's where I see transformational changes happen.
Absolutely right. Because when you were a kid, no, so the what you were learning was very sandbox. Within a sandbox, there are six topics, six subjects. You finish exam, and all of the students are like sort of evaluated with the same rubric that is common and simple. Like if you get 100 out of 100, you must be on the top. You come to life, there is no rubric, because how you succeed is completely up to you, your own definition. The rubric is created by you. And I cannot argue what your definition of success is. And we both cannot argue what other people's definition of success is, because they are evaluated by their own standards. So, which means for us, we have to be so thoughtful when we're helping other people, that we can never say, these are the 7 rules of success. By which standard? Because they may be thinking something else completely, and those
Yeah.
7 rules may derail them. from
Yeah.
going somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So I became very conscious. I learned this, and what happened next was I came from a town called Coorg, which is a hill station in Karnataka. There were only two newspapers, one morning and one evening. So somebody in the evening newspaper, he found out that I was published. I was 13, and he came to our home and he said, "Hey, do you want to work for us? So we can come and write some articles." In my young age, you are always like, you think anything is possible. I thought if I can write five novels, article, it's easy. Like, what's
Easy.
there? It's like 800 words. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
Little did I know that it is not easy to write a shorter article compared to a big novel, because novel you have all the space. People expect that there will be some fluff and all those things. It's only a daily newspaper. You catch their attention or you don't. That's it. In the first paragraph, they will decide whether to read the next or not. So, for 4 years, I worked for that newspaper. First 6 months, none of my articles got published. Why? Because I thought, and they would tell me, because I was a kid, no? So they would tell me, oh, we ran out of space, but you should rewrite it. I thought they really ran out of space, so I would rewrite everything. How is this? Oh, this would have worked, but it's already published. Tomorrow we'll try another spot. Because it's a daily newspaper, you cannot publish yesterday's news tomorrow. It has to be daily. So when after 6 months, when I got my first article published, the deputy editor, who was my mentor, he said, this we never ran out of space, but your article sucked, man. So it's really bad. I said, wow, what happened? They said, that's when he told me the elements of storytelling. How you
Mm.
look at the same thing, a good person will see more color. That means more higher fidelity. They'll observe things more than what other people observe. They'll read between lines. They'll not just be a bystander who will say, what's happening, just report it. Nobody wants that. They want some insight.
Hmm.
So at 14, 15, I was getting this kind of thing. So I became a very good listener, not just listen to what is said and what is not said, everything. So that art of keeping people's attention and saying things that will make people want to engage more, I didn't know it was a really amazing skill at that time. I only wanted my articles to be published. So
Mm.
for that, I had to learn the skill. I learned it, not because it is a gift that the person is giving for life.
Mm. Wow, what a gift.
Yes.
You had said in one of your videos or interviews, you said during this time at 13, you became a daily newspaper article writer and you got to hone this skill of rapid storytelling.
Yes.
As you have alluded to earlier, you learned how to listen, you know how to keep people's attention, you learn how to deliver insights because ultimately that's the payoff of people reading the newspaper article. So how do you think that prepare you to the social media world today? Short form, storytelling, a minute or less, 90 seconds is what you got. How do you can you draw us a line on
Yeah.
how you take that skill now to the social media, economy that we have today?
See, the on social media is a double-edged sword. See, many times people think that getting attention on social media is important. There is clickbaity articles, there is things that make them look smart. They'll share a code that is really exciting. But I always think, to do what? So basically, I really don't. Every social media amount of time I spend is extremely small, because I'm all about building relationships. Whatever it takes to build a relationship is only that much. I don't need scale, because you don't have enough projects for me to have 1 million people needing just reading something. I'm only interested in, if I need to reach someone, is there an angle where I can just knock on the door through social media, so that's
Mm,
about it. Then I'll build the relationship offline, because offline is where you get and give specific, personalized, deep engagement, and that kind of help.
mm,
Social media, it's never going to be, for me at least, for the work that I do, I don't need the followers as much as I need relationship depth.
mm,
So I always think that it's easier to start a relationship on social media, and maybe I'm very old school, But in real life, the relationships are still built on a handshake and then one on one, not on social media. The depth of relationship, maybe somebody else has cracked it, but for me, I still like old school relationship building. So it's easy to get attention on social media or anywhere. The one skill that people have to learn is to do a pattern interrupt. So, because if you don't do a pattern interrupt, there is no surprise. Like,
Mm,
not all surprises are good. Bad surprises, there are bad surprises. Any negative news is a surprise, but it's bad. So, nobody likes that kind of surprise. A surprise that lifts them up is what people like.
mm,
So, I'm always thinking, how do I get people's attention? I have chosen the linguistic part. So I make up my own phrases. So that way, if I say something about let's say partnership. So if I want to say something about partner, you need to build strong partnerships. It's difficult to get attention because everybody thinks they know what strong partnership means. They may
mm,
be wrong, but
mm,
I can't tell them, hey, I'm going to tell you about strong partnerships. What you know may be wrong, and I'll be hated twice. So,
mm,
first of all, for interrupting them, and second, who are you to tell me I'm wrong? So, they get defenses up. But if
mm,
I say something like this, one of the core elements of a strong partnership is to have hunger alignment. And I
mm,
stop there. Now I opened up a loop. They don't know what is hunger alignment, and hunger and alignment does not go together, isn't it? What's
mm,
hunger alignment? Now they have to read the next sentence to know what I think is hunger alignment.
mm.
They may not agree, but it's a phrase I made up, so I'll choose to have the meaning that I want to give. But at least I got their attention.
So I have
Well,
a question
it's
there.
main.
I have a
Yeah,
quick question there. If so, yes, we want to say something that's novel, that's unique to draw attention. But I have also found that when it's totally outside of the realm of reality, then they dismiss it right away because it's not relevant to them. So there's a sweet spot of being a little bit outside, but not so much outside. Is that an accurate reflection of what you're describing?
yeah. I was going there, and you did the pattern interrupt, which is good. So basically,
I'm
basically,
glad you did it.
yeah. So you look at it this way: you can engineer words to get attention, but if you get their attention and don't give them something relevant and valuable, you lose uh, their mindset forever. Because that's why clickbaits, they go there and it's something else. What do they think? They don't think, I should not have clicked on it. They'll go, who is this person who gave this clickbait? They'll give you negative points for you as a person. So next time they're not touched by a clickbait. Because and very soon if you do it twice, they just remove you from their list. So first of all, you need to have something valuable and relevant and timely, or else no other tricks will work. So only when you have something of substance, you can do some magic. If you don't have something of substance, then why do magic? Why try all this linguistic acrobatics? You just work on it until its substance is really good.
Yeah, I love it. So okay, so let's drill in on that a little bit because you've been honing this skill of coining your own phrase. For other thought leaders who may want to do that, that I mean, I'm looking at you, right? Because you're coming up with these terminologies like it's nothing. So how do I go from someone who don't really coin their own phrases to someone who is, can coin their phrases, whenever they want? What are the
Yeah.
skills, to necessary to get there?
So what you are asking is, how do I become a pattern interrupting machine? So,
Yeah, good. That's a good
that's
one. Yes. Uh-huh.
that's a new one we just created.
Yeah, I
So
love it. Yeah.
basically, what happens is almost everything in life, before you gain mastery, you become a connoisseur or observer of stuff. So where does this skill being exhibited everywhere? I'll pick one area in stand-up comedy. They do it again and again and again. Really good stand-up comics. They always interrupt patterns. You're thinking, oh, they're going there, they'll go somewhere else.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
rather than watching them for enjoyment, you watch them for enrichment. Of course, you do it once, you watch it for enjoyment. Second round, you watch it for enrichment. What
Mhm.
this person could have done while preparing for this stand-up comic routine, how would he have thought or she thought? What is the way they prepare? You will be amazed at how much the first version of that will be almost garbage, because they don't start where they end. But the
Mhm.
practice, they keep changing. I talked to several of them. If you look at their first version, it will be like, I don't know whether you have knowledge of stand-up comedy. My knowledge is not that good. I would have written better. That's how I think. But they don't stop there. They'll make 16, 17 revisions. And that's the kind of thing we need for our space. Let's say I'm in the entrepreneurship growth space.
Mm.
I just apply the practice of the stand-up comics into my space. Like I write once and then I keep changing until when I deliver it, it looks like a flawless. Why?
Mhm.
Because I practiced it like 1,000 times. So then it's easy.
So, okay, so on that note, number one, I'm curious to know who is your favorite stand-up comic? That's one. Two, the stand-up comic life cycle is this, right? They have their set and they go to a local comedy club and they do it night after night. So that's every iteration, every time they step on stage to deliver their set. And once they have honed their material enough, and they may sell it to Netflix as an example, right? That's
Mm.
or play it at a stadium or something like that. So that's a in my mind simple life cycle of a stand-up comic. How do we do that, right? As a thought leader, as a teacher, um, what kind of sets or what iterations can we make?
Beautiful. So if I remember, I mean, a stand-up comic or sitcom, I really like two shows. Like one is The Big Bang Theory, and
Uh
the other
huh.
is like Jerry Seinfeld. When no, it's not
Uh
there.
huh.
Seinfeld.
Uh huh.
I like Seinfeld because he can make a routine about nothing. That was one of the
Yes. Uh huh.
routines.
Uh
I, I watched it so many. Just that one, I watched it so many times. What could he have done to write this play? Okay, it's a show about nothing. And then I would have said stop there because it's about nothing. But they didn't. They went on and on about nothing forever.
mm-hmm.
So that requires a lot of skill.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I watched it the first time thinking, if this show is about nothing, it'll end in 5 minutes. It didn't. It took the entire half an hour. So if somebody can catch somebody's attention on nothing, that guy must
Mm.
be a genius, right?
Mm.
So now I say, I have something so valuable. It's not better than nothing for sure. I should be able to do something about this something. It's definitely better than something, more than something about nothing. So that's
mm.
how I get the motivation. Whenever
Mm.
if I ever are low on motivation, I just think, hey, Seinfeld wrote a skit about nothing. So come on, I
Yeah,
should
he made a whole billion-dollar empire on nothing.
yes. So it's unbelievable
Mm.
because if you think about it, story is everything.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if story is not everything, think about why would somebody pay $50,000 for a wristwatch?
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody has to tell such a great story
Mm-hmm.
that almost make this watch a status signaling device
Mm-hmm.
rather than something to look at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so then I studied all the stories of people. What will Rolex say? You will be amazed. Like there is a tag hoover. What will it say? It says you can find accurate time at 60 feet below the water.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, how many people will go to the under the water and oh, oh my God, what is the exact time? I want to know. Oh,
Yeah, right.
oh, tag hoover. Good. This is great. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, and is it split second? Yes, correct.
Uh-huh.
I can't even breathe because it's underwater. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then Patek Philippe, it says please pass this on to the next generation. It's a gift you are giving. I mean, come on, if I want to pass to the next generation, I give them a home or some plot, something like. I don't need to give a watch, but they make it look like this is it. And
Mm,
any celebrity, they say, okay, this Richard Branson will use this. He can use whatever he wants. He's a billionaire. Why should I buy a watch because Richard Branson is using it? But the story that is told makes you think that that's the right decision. So I always tell people, if you want to learn storytelling, become a story observer.
mm,
They are being seduced to overpay. It has to be a story, because otherwise, why will anybody pay more than what is required to be told? Because the
mm.
story they tell them, it is worth it.
Yeah. Definitely. Let's come back on the storytelling, because I think storytelling is not only important about selling a product. Storytelling is also important about the story we tell ourselves, which is about mental health. I mean, to me,
Yeah,
that's what it is, right? It's the story that we tell ourselves that no one can hear. And also, storytelling is also super important for the continuation of generational wisdom, right? What's my
right.
family stands for? What's the legacy of who I am, or this family name, or this culture, or this nation, or this people, etc.,
Right.
etc. So story can zoom in to the super micro, to can zoom out to the super macro. We'll come back to that in a bit.
Yeah.
But coming back to honing our skills to interrupt, to be this pattern interrupt machine. Stand-up comic, they stand up on stage night after night to hone their routine. What can we do as thought leaders as a way to, what are the sets that we could have, and what are the
Yeah.
stages that we can get on to hone our routines?
See, everything that people view, whenever whatever you say, people view it. They give the weightage depending on the accomplishment that you have outside of that story, isn't it? Because basically, if I say something really cool, let's say I said something like this: yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I want to change myself. And I stop there. And then you have some weightage because I didn't tell who it was. And after a pause, I said this was Rumi's quote. And suddenly the weight goes up because Rumi is a famous person and is supposed to be a deep thinker. But if I say, oh, that was Joe Blow in something, he said, what is this? Yesterday he was clever. What's the difference between clever and wise? What nonsense is happening? Right?
Uh-huh.
So if I say something like stay hungry, stay foolish, I mean, remove who said it. So why would I stay hungry? Why would I stay foolish? What kind of advice is that? But if I say, when Steve Jobs said this in the commencement address of Stanford, he said, stay hungry, stay foolish. Now suddenly the weight increases.
Mhm.
So first thing that any thought leader has to think, first you have to think, how do I increase the weight of what I say? Before you think
Mm,
about what to say, the weight increases if you accumulate accomplishments that are valuable, if you make contributions that are valuable. So before they go and say, let me do wordsmithing and verbal magic, I always say, how do I accrue and accumulate accomplishments and contributions? That is where the real magic is. So I say that if you want to develop only one skill, it is a precursor to any of these skills. It is to develop the ability to give meaningful gifts at scale at a very low incremental cost to you.
mm.
Once you do that, you are like Santa Claus of value. So you meet someone and then you blow them off with, I call it Blitzkrieg of Love. So
The what? Say
basically,
that again. You lost me.
Blitzkrieg of Love.
Okay, I still
Blitzkrieg
don't know what that. Uh-huh.
Blitzkrieg is a German term for the attack from all angles.
Mm,
But you can reframe it and say you can send love from all angles.
mm,
So
mm, mm, mm.
basically, it's a war terminology where they say you surprise the enemy by attacking him from 8 directions. But you can, it's just to win the war. But you win the heart. You surprise the person by sending love from all directions.
Mm,
So it's the same thing. You can apply it in a different play. Why war? Right? So we can have love. So my thinking is, if they develop the ability to give meaningful gifts at scale at a very low incremental cost to them, what will they do? They'll practice it as if it's like a nothing. It's like a walk in the park, right? So then what happens if 80% of them don't reciprocate? Let's 90% of them don't reciprocate. The other 10% reciprocate because you gave them a valuable gift.
Mm-hmm.
You have more power than what you will ever need in your whole life,
Mm-hmm.
because for anything to complete, you need capacity. The capacity can come from your intelligence, your hard work, everything about you, plus how much of excess capacity you have access to from other people who will willingly give their best because you needed it. Some of them will even do proactively. And when you see this in action, you'll say, that guy is so lucky, that girl is so lucky. No, they're not lucky. They did their homework before. Now they're reaping the rewards. Only
Mm-hmm.
thing is, you're observing the only in a snapshot of time. At that time, it looks lucky, but you don't know what they did before this time, isn't it? So my thing, I'm like a gardener. So I call it, I'm a dot gardener. So not any vegetables, but I garden dots. What is the gardening dot means? I plant
Mm.
dots means, Steve Jobs said dots will connect in the future. So I said, but you have to place the dots first to connect in the future. So if I'm a gardener of dots, that means I gardener of good help for people, even if they never reciprocate. I don't care. You have enough dots in your garden. Some of them will connect in the future, and magic will happen.
Mm. Mm. I love that. That's a great metaphor. Um, one of the things that entrepreneurs say a lot is adding value. How
Hmm.
do I add value? How do I add value? And some people use that as just like a phrase they say, but if you look at their action, they don't actually do it. And then some of the most successful quote unquote entrepreneurs or creators or just human beings in general, they not only say it, but they be it. They do it, and
Yes.
as a daily practice. And then if we think about how much we can get quote unquote from the world as a derivative of how much value we add, right? Let's say if I give you $100 and then you say, "Hey, give me $1 back," you're like, "Of course." You do that all day, right?
Correct.
So if we can add value, as you said, at minimum incremental cost, at scale, everywhere we go, if we could just do that as a principle, as a practice, then the abundant life that we all desire is going to be a foregone conclusion.
See, I 100% agree with you. The way I'll say it, if I want to use my own terminology, I say if you become a merchant of possibilities, you are never out of work, and you're never out of your own possibilities. See, everybody is looking for new possibilities. If you always think about them and say, what new possibilities can I create because I am now in their life, then automatically you will look for it. Like a tourist always finds what he or she is looking for. If I go there into this meeting or any meeting, I say, what new possibilities can I create? Then I'm looking for the right things. So I call it the delta P, delta T advantage. So what is
The
delta P?
delta T advantage, is that what you said?
Yeah, delta
I
T and
love it.
delta
You
T.
just coming up with terms all the time. Amazing.
So think about it. There are only two kinds of value that is easily recognizable and visible to the whole world. One is called delta T, which is the time advantage, which is basically you are going to a destination in like a speedboat, and then I come and say, no, it's the latest drone which you can go, and then you can reach there faster, right? And then that's a delta T, you can go faster. Or delta P, it's a better, something better. Let's say you
Mhm.
are creating a engine with some certain horsepower, and with no change in the cost and everything, I'll make you create an engine with 1.5x of that horsepower. And it's the delta P. It could have both, right? So in the case of you're going through with a speedboat, I can make you get there, and I say, CK, you don't have to get there. Now that you have the drone, you can go to a better place. That means the delta P and delta T. And the last one, which is not easily visible, recognizable, it's delta E, which is the experience. Because
Mm.
most of the time, when all else is equal, the experience, makes the difference. It makes you stand out. So what do we do? So delta T, delta P, delta E. What are in three vectors? How much value can you add in one meeting? You can add a lot. First, you should drop your own agenda. That way, you're very clean. If I'm thinking, what will I get? What will I get? It gets muddied because it's too much of internal processing. First, you say, my goal is to hear the greatest of insights value that they can apply tomorrow morning. Then I'm free because I'm just thinking about anybody else who is listening to this. What can they do? And then when they go into a situation, rather than using terms, I want to add value, can they add value in delta T? Can they add value in delta P? Or can they add value in delta E? Or a combination of these three or all of them? At what extent? When it is verified by a third party, not you, because you will always feel good about yours. Did you have a good meeting? Yeah, great meeting. No. Will the somebody else who is watching this or the recipient of that value says, my God, this person is so good that I'm missing him in the past. That means I should have
Mm,
met this person 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
mm,
That's when you have truly added value.
mm. I love that. Uh, I love that you also use terminologies like vectors and things like that. It's such a mathematical
Yes.
geekery. I love it.
I'm an engineer. What can I do? So basically, I am always interested in, giving some frameworks for things that people cannot measure. So like gratitude, generosity, value.
Hmm.
There's no scale that will say how much value you added, but I can get a proxy. So if I add a reasonable amount of value in such a way that at the lowest level somebody says this made my day, anything else that happens is a bonus. That's at one end of the value creation. Highest value creation is, oh my God, why did I not meet this person years ago? My life would have been different.
Hmm.
Within that scale, you can only decide where you fall. Anything below that, this made my day, then if that response did not come, but you think you added value, then you are telling a fantasy story yourself.
Wait. Back up. One sentence, one more time.
See, basically, when you truly add value, it has to fall in between these two sort of experiences or responses. One response is this made my day. Anything more good today is a bonus.
Mm.
Yeah, it's one level. But if
Well,
it is,
so the question I have, so lots of questions here. I mean, we
yeah,
can just focus on the whole podcast here, but I
yes,
think, but I think, let's see. So there is lagging indicators and then leading indicators. Sometimes a value add is a seed that you planted that may not blossom immediately. They may not appreciate right away. So how do you know, if it actually created value in the moment or immediately after, or do you even care about that? Do you even track
actually,
that at all?
you are a high fidelity observer. That much I can tell you. Very few people observe this phenomenon. Whenever I say it, they're just, oh, this is good. But you go very, very deep, which I like. See, there is always a balance of between who is the recipient of the value. Let's say you're adding this value to just now he finished college or she finished college, and you're saying something. Your own expectation of how much they understand what I did to them has to be reset, because suppose I introduce this college just now graduated person to somebody that will change their life forever. I know it, they don't, but I know that they don't. So I'm okay with it, because I don't need to prove the value that I'm adding every single time, because that's too much work. So my goal is to be on the dojo, always creating value, not expecting that this everybody will recognize it now or later or something. So as long as I know that I am a positive possibility in the future they are creating for themselves, then I'm good. So
Mm,
if I am not a positive possibility in the future they are creating for themselves, then I have to go to work. They don't have to do anything,
mm-hmm,
isn't it? So the younger people, they may not realize the difference between this introduction, how valuable it is for the rest of their life. And I don't have the time to teach them, hey, you should not look at all introductions equal. You should know who is being introduced, what they will add, what is positive possibility in the future you are creating. They will go nuts. They say, what this person, this is too much philosophy preaching. So my goal is to just do the work and let them realize the magic. Maybe 2 years from now, maybe 10 years from now. But I'm not attached to the result because I'm
Yeah.
interested in more dots.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is you're doing this more for you,
So it's think about it
more
this way.
intrinsic satisfaction of adding value rather than having some kind of attachment to, oh, I'm
Yes.
creating 100 units of positive value with this meeting, that meeting, this meeting, that, like, because ultimately that's you have so much abundant value creation that it doesn't matter anymore. You can just add value everywhere you go. Is that an accurate reflection of how you think about this?
It is almost there. I'll tell you one small, let's say 1%. I'll tell you what the difference is.
Okay.
If you want to go, let's say we both talked about the game of Go. You want to become better at, or even cricket or football or anything. If you want to get better at it, you need to play that game more. You cannot read about it and get better, isn't it? Imagine value creation is a game. How will you become better at it without playing it? Isn't it? So anytime I go to any meeting and they don't get a response in between one of these two range, which is this made my day, everything else is a bonus on one side. Oh my God, I should have met this person long back. My life would have been different. If I don't do it, it's a reflection on me that I need to play this better. Not
Mm,
against anything. I'm not even competing with anybody in the world. There is enough to compete with me, myself. Why should I even worry about how other people are doing it? I'll only look at other people as an inspiration, not as a competition.
mm-hmm,
Because my life is different, their life is different. Who am I? What am I? It's like apples to oranges.
mm-hmm,
But one thing I know who I am, I know it very, very clearly. Could I have done better? That's a feedback I want. If after I'm being 52 years in this planet, if I go to a meeting and cannot add enough value, shame on me. Not because somebody else will do it differently. I read so many books, I've written 18 books. Why is that I was not thoughtful and caring that I could not create that kind of value? Is what I go back in my homework.
mm. I see. So you also have a daily reflection
Yes.
ritual where you think about your meetings, your day, your encounters with people, and then think about this question. If you didn't get this made my day, or why didn't I meet you? Then you will reflect on how could I have done better to add more
Correct.
value to this particular individual.
Yeah, it is just I'm examining myself that maybe
Mm-hmm.
I was not in my maybe I didn't prepare well. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
was not good listener. Everything is on me because the only person I have some control on to change is me. Anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm thinking I'm going to change somebody I met, welcome. Their spouse is trying to change them for 20 years. Parents tried to change them for like 40 years. Friends tried to change them for another 25 years. They didn't succeed. What am I thinking? That I'm like God to make them change? But me, I have some control on changing because I can make a change small, small, and then make it a habit.
Yeah. You mentioned a term earlier. You said a dojo, which this
Yes.
is the Noble Warrior podcast. We use the dojo analogy quite a lot, right? So what are some of so the way that okay, let's see. How do I articulate this? Right. So if we want to be better at value creation. In my mind, there are moves that you can practice to be a better value creator, and
Yes.
also in martial arts there are katas. There are like
Mm.
forms that you can practice, right? So you can be better at value creation. In your mind, are there
Yeah.
katas? Are there like basically modules that has some proven effect, and you just continue to hone those katas as you go throughout your day, and then based on the situation you bring out specific katas to add value to the situation.
What a powerful question. I just love it. So when somebody asks me a good question, my juices start flowing because very rarely somebody asks me these kind of questions. I wish somebody else asked this question before because I had so many things to share. But without a question, I cannot say, "Hey, CK, you let me tell you what questions to ask." Then I'll no, that won't be good. It will be fabricated. When you ask a question, I'll tell you more and more. See, basically, I'll tell you a few, for example.
Hmm.
So, let's say somebody comes with me to an idea. Many times, if the idea is bad, it doesn't matter what I say, the core idea is bad. So, nothing will happen. So, but now the person is so passionate about the idea. Now, I have to make him revisit the idea without being defensive. So if I say something, hey, this idea is not good, suddenly I say, 10 other people have told me it's a good idea. I think, let me explain it. But I always go back to the first principles. If this idea is good, if he has not made money for 3 years, then something has to be relooked at, isn't it? Either he's a really bad marketer or salesperson or the idea is bad. But I cannot tell him because he's too invested or she is too invested. So I have a routine that always works. I say something like this. It was Dawn. I said, Dawn, I have trouble of putting my foot in the mouth. I say whatever I feel and whatever my heart says, and then I get into trouble because sometimes people just get upset. But in only one case, I've got through to people. If the person is extremely smart and thoughtful, I have no trouble telling them something on their face. In this case, Don, I get that comfort feeling that you are extremely smart and thoughtful. So, is it okay if I tell you what I feel? And then I tell my idea, this idea sucks. What can Don do? He is defenseless. If he tries to defend me, then he's telling I am not that extremely smart or thoughtful. So it cannot. I set an identity for him that is not possible to attack me back. So that's one thing that I want. I always want to say what's on my heart. I've seen people defending themselves, and when they start defending, they don't listen because they're all about winning. So I had to that one framework where I set the person to listen first. It's very important. You can say they're not listening. Well, you didn't do the right things for them to be able to listen. The environment has to be created to listen. So that's the first thing. Second thing is what I call outsee. To be outstanding, you need to out execute. To out execute, you need to outthink. But to outthink, you have to outsee. So when people are going fast, everything is a blur around them because once they say this idea, somebody says pat on the back, this is good, they start running, then they become selective listeners. That means whatever is good for that idea they listen, whatever is bad, that's an aberration, I don't have to listen to it, and they totally ignore. So I have to make them see things that will make them change the fundamentals with which they looked at the idea. So first say this, to be outstanding, you have to out execute. To out execute, you have to outthink. To outthink, you have to outsee. Let me give them an example. Let's say there are Lego blocks. There are 100 of them. You just pour them, and then actually there are four more, but they went behind a book stack. Only I can see. So I can see 104. You can see only 100. Whatever said and done, I see more possibilities in the Lego blocks because I see those extra four than you can see. And when I set that up, they have to ask me a question. What should I be seeing that I'm not seeing? If they ask that question, even in their mind, they don't have to literally ask me. Then I can go and show them something that they have not seen. So then they're open because they didn't have this information. So then there's another framework. Can I show them something that they did not see, but it is material to their company? I can go on more and more, but I just wanted to say a couple of things.
No, I mean, I really appreciate it. One of the things that one of my technique
Hmm.
to introduce idea that may not necessarily be favorably received
Hmm.
is asking for permission. Hey, do I have permission to share something with you? And they say yes, and then it's game on. I can deliver whatever I need to deliver. But without permission, then it's easy for the mechanisms to come up and for them to justify. So
It's
that's
beautiful.
one little technique that I use as a way to you know
It's
deliver.
very beautifully said. In fact, I don't know whether you have read this book, Exactly What to Say. by Phil Jones?
No.
So that's a really good book. And he uses, similarly, he uses one phrase called open-minded.
Mm.
So he'll say, are you open-minded enough to look at a new way of doing things? Who the hell will say, no, no, I'm not. I'm just close-minded. I'm not. Nobody will say it. It's an always been, oh, yeah, of course. So,
Uh-huh.
or you can say, see, some forward-thinking people will always look at new ideas with an open mind. I'm sure you look like one of them. Am I right?
Uh-huh.
No, they cannot say, no, I'm more backward thinking because I don't do very forward thinking. They cannot say it. So they're open to a new idea. So
So so I'm thinking, because I'm thinking in sort of martial art terms as well, right? There's the ego and there's what, the our spirit. So in some ways, what we're talking about here is we appeal to the ego, right? The identity. I'm smart, I'm motivated, I'm an
yes,
innovator, I'm understanding, I'm wise, I'm open-minded. And like, sure, okay. So you kind of like jujitsu or aikido our way,
yeah,
bypassing the ego by asking for permission and appeal to it.
exactly. In fact, you
Hmm.
should have something of value, really substance. If you do that, if you do the first trick without the second one, then we lose their mind share. Because
Mm.
if I interrupt and I don't give enough value, let's say I get to their head but not give them enough value, then it's not fair. At that time, I say, somebody asked me a question this morning. What do you think of that market in that country? I said, anything I say, I'll be making up. So to look smart. So I don't have enough information in that market in this country, but I know someone who might. So I just connected them. So rather
Mm.
than saying, oh, okay, so I just Google something and say that that market is good, amazing. It's like in the last few years, why? It's too much work. So best is to say, I'm not competent in the domain of knowledge, but somebody else might be. It's easier to send it to them. So they get
Mm.
good help. Either you provide good help or no help, or point them to the direction where they can get good help. Not confuse them because I don't have any ego. I don't know everything. So why should I claim to know everything? Or it's too much drain on my own brain.
Yeah. So Rajesh, quick question about, because in my mind, as you're speaking, I'm also starting to think about stages of development of entrepreneurship as an example. In the beginning stages, let's say maybe this is a new venture, maybe this person may not know all of the market or know all of the people. So any new information or new facts could be quite um, adding value to this person, right? But as I also hear, the more mature they are in their development of their mind, of the entrepreneur mind, they may not necessarily need just tactical data. What they need ultimately is a new perspective, uh,
Yes.
uh, um, uh, sort of a way for them to see blind spots that they may not be even aware of, or potential risk, or potential revenue, right? Company growth, and so on and so forth. Things that they may not like a new view into reality that they may not even have considered. That's my uh, thought in that. Do you see any similar, whereas sort of leverages to add value to any situation? Does that make
Beautifully
sense
said.
at all? Can you articulate what I just
Yeah,
said?
yeah.
Yeah.
This beautifully said. When I studied linguistic philosophy for 7+ years. My teacher used to use this analogy, and this comes out very strong for the entrepreneurial or any project ventures. It's two distinctions called organization and structure. So many people think they understand it. Sometimes once I explain it, they will know that the way they understood it may not be fully complete. So if I say a bicycle and then stop, there is an image of something that came into your mind. Definitely, that image of a bicycle did not have three wheels, isn't it? Because I did
Mm-hmm.
not say tricycle, I said bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing you, you probably are a mountain biker or something. You are it's very different. Everything will be the same. The two wheels, one will be in the front, one will be in the back. There is a seat,
Mm-hmm.
it's attached, and then there is
Mm-hmm.
a connection from one wheel to another wheel. There is a handle. Everything is same. So an organization is an arrangement of certain items. Just that's all there is. But where the difference is, that if you are a mountain biker and I'm a weekend warrior, I just go around here and there. Our bikes from outside, for those people who don't know enough about bikes, will look the same. But I know that I paid like $1,000 and you paid like $7,500 because you have alloy wheels, lighter weight, and then you have gears. I don't have it. It's ergonomically well designed. It's
Mm,
designed for speed. I don't have all those things. It's the same. Looks the same. So a company or a company is just like that. It should need an organization. That means the right people should be working on right things. So the way I assess a company is, do they have the right organization? But what is structure? Structure is the difference in the components, the quality of the components, the nature of the components, which is if it's ready for biking on a mountain, it needs this alloy wheels, but the wheel looks the same. No, no, no. But it's alloy wheels, so it's very different. It's pricier and it's lighter. So both have to be right, organization and a structure, which means let's say there's building a company and then they have not built the product, but they hire a CMO, then it's the wrong structure, the wrong organization and wrong structure because the CMO has nothing to do for the next 2 years, isn't it? But if they don't have a visual experience designer, then the structure organization is missing a part. And let's say they have a junior designer and it's competing in a highly competitive market, then they have the organization, the structure is wrong because this person needs to be a stellar UX designer, but they don't have a junior one because they wanted to save money. So just looking at their organizational structure, you know where the gaps are. They may not know it because
mm,
sometimes they look at this kid's work in some college stuff and say, "Oh, we can do it.
mm,
It's a very simple application." No, what you see on the outside is a reflection of the thinking inside.
mm.
So the thinking inside cannot be determined just by seeing from the outside. You have to ask the person, how would you approach this problem? What will you think when you design this? So just that's why it's easy, not because I'm smart. I just go to the first principles. And when people are saying about their company, I just listen, just listen, listen, listen. They themselves will tell me what is the organization, what is the structure, where are the gaps,
Mhm,
and then I just reflect back on them. And then
mhm,
automatically they get enough value because they don't think in first principles. Because they watched many times they read the TechCrunch and any of these things. Any news of any significance is usually an exception. So
mhm.
it's not a rule because if it is a rule, they won't get into the news. So when you just are inspired by news, then you are chasing an exception as if it's a rule. That's already a blind spot.
Mm, I love that. Um, I appreciate your explanation because it shows me that I need to hire a video editor ASAP. So thank you for that. That's an insight that I wasn't expecting, but thank you for that.
See, this is the beauty of you. See, you are not only listening, you are also thinking, how does it apply to me? So that shows so many things for me. One is you're very comfortable with this model because if you are not, you cannot go switch to your own context and then you switch back to the interview because
Mhm,
you'll be thinking, oh, but I want to know the next question. No, it's a conversation.
mhm,
So that means you have mastered the art of a conversation enough so that you can
mhm.
give your mind a break and also reflect on your own situation and come back as if nothing happened. That's a
I
way to assess progress. And with you, I'm telling something you already know. So
Oh, I appreciate it. One of the key distinction that I learned from a transformational program some time ago is who we are as human beings are the network of conversations that we engage in.
beautifully said. Yes, I
And
agree.
for me, I struggle with that concept quite a lot because for many years I was a technologist, a PhD in biomedical engineering. So I thought technology was everything, and then I slowly venture over to the podcast world, and I really had to grapple with, well, what is the value of a conversation? So it
Mm.
wasn't until I uh, got into podcasting, got into publishing video, all these things for a few years, then I realized, hey, there's real value in one, having conversation with another human being, but two, allowing other people to eavesdrop into, conversation between smart, conscious, motivated, good-hearted people, so then they can, um, how should we say, take the wisdom with them to help them with their lives, right? So there's real value in allowing people to get into our network of conversation that we engage with each other.
Beautifully said. So, you build this, if you can restrict it a little bit, because it's not all conversation, because there are some conversation on TV that you would be better off if you miss them than have see them. But the conversation that you are referring to are people, conversation with competent people with real depth in knowledge and who are willing to share. They don't have their own agenda. What happens is it's a playground of possibilities, isn't it? Because it's a perspectives are thrown, and then not everything you may like, but you will pick up a perspective. New perspective will change the trajectory of your life,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it? You could
Mm-hmm.
not see the world in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Now you cannot stop seeing it because the world is different. Like, for example, so if I say I can give you one perspective that will make you be calm forever, so is it okay if I share it?
Yeah, of course.
So it's like this. Anytime anything happens, because you will be calm when things are going your way. The only time you will lose your calmness is you are expecting something, something else happened. There is a mismatch in the expectation and the reality. And whenever that happens, before you blow your socks, like blow your top, no, you just think, I do a time travel because we are unlike animals. We can do time travel. I always say go 10 years to the 10 years forward, and then look back at this exact event. Let's say in my case, it was I got diagnosed with Parkinson's. I always go back 10 years forward and say, look at this exact moment. It'll have very little value to me because it's one of those many things that would have happened. Anything for that matter. You had a fight with someone, anything. In fact, to prove that, go back 10 years before. Now it's to 2022, go to 2012. And I say, CK, what is the most significant thing that happened in 2012? You will have a hard time thinking about it because nothing will be remembered and will be that important. If that is the case, why am I blowing this out of proportion?
Mm-hmm.
What is there to lose my mind on this? Isn't
Mm-hmm.
it? So there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing of significance. People cannot, many times, people do not even remember one thing 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if that is the case 10 years from now, it's all good.
Um, so I have a loving challenge for you, right?
Mm,
So I agree with you because I'm very much a rational thinker. I'm a
mm.
systems thinker. However, I have experienced moments where, in hindsight, I was blowing off my top for no reason, really, right? It's over
Yes.
little things, because our body, our emotions, in that moment, experience real trauma in that moment,
Mm.
even though logically it didn't really, like, if you look at the actual event that happened, it doesn't matter. Like, somebody passed you, somebody swing at you, whatever, somebody says some hurtful things to you in that moment, it seemed like a gigantic thing in the moment. So, and it's hard for the rationalist to reconcile that, because you're right, we can distance, depersonalize ourselves and look at it, and travel through time scale, backwards and forwards, and give a rational result. What you're proposing is a rational response, but in the moment, emotional response is big, is real. It may
Yeah.
not be true, but it's real in the moment. So how do you reconcile the two for you?
You don't reconcile it. You pattern interrupt it because you know
Mm-hmm.
this. This is what is going to happen. So you
Mm-hmm.
make it a habit to ask this one question anytime this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the hidden rainbow?
Where's the what?
Hidden rainbow.
Hidden rainbow. Uh-huh.
You just look for something positive in this completely negative thing. Where is the hidden rainbow? There is a hidden rainbow here.
Mm.
I want to find it because the mind has to be occupied with things that are right for you,
Mm-hmm.
not right for emotions will take over. When you interrupt it, then mind gets to work. Where is the hidden? I need to find something good here. Where is it? There's
Mm-hmm.
always something good. There's always something good. But if you're not looking for it, you will not find it, isn't
Mm-hmm.
it? In fact, if you think about it, your greatest moments of growth came at the greatest moments of adversity. Because
Mhm.
that's where you learned a lot. You grew faster. Isn't it?
Mhm.
Somebody loses a parent,
Mhm.
somebody
Mhm.
lost their job, and
Mhm.
at that time it looked like, oh God, this is crazy.
Mhm.
That's exact time, 10 years from now, you know that it's so that's
Mhm.
why you can manufacture this rather than wait for it to happen. How do you
Yep.
manufacture this? You start proactively helping people who are going through this situation.
Mhm.
What happens? Because of deep empathy, you will witness what the challenges they are going through, and you
Mhm.
want to be generous. You put yourself in their shoes and start working on it. So you build the muscles of dealing with this by proactively helping other people who are going through it, because we can't go through all the good times that other people are going through, which is what, if you want to see that, you can go to Facebook. Somebody will be celebrating something. Collectively you cannot do everything, so that's impossible. You also won't go through all the bad things that everybody is going through, but you know that the moments of growth happen in the moments of adversity. Somebody else is going through adversity now. Don't wait for them to ask for help. You proactively go and say, what can you do? In the process you also build your strength.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. I'm very much, of that mindset as well. Hence why I seek out challenges like Spartan race,
Yes,
ayahuasca ceremonies, right? Things like that. Because it's not like I'm a masochist. I enjoy pain. I don't find it pleasurable. But for me, the meaning that I derive from it, the
exactly.
growth, the insights, the lessons, I optimize my life for growth, for lessons, for insights. So
100% I see
so
that.
it's a automatic muscle that I have these days is um what is a lesson in this?
Hmm.
And also recently I have taken on this mantra, only joy. So
Hmm.
how do I find joy in adversity? How do I find, just because life is lifing all the time, how do I
Hmm.
find joy in the highlights? How do I find joy in the lowlights?
Hmm.
That to me is a muscle that I want to cultivate in my life as a way to live a more not only purposeful but joyous life.
It's very interesting. So for me, joy has to be a default setting for people. So which means, see, so one cannot find joy outside. We know that because joy is an
Hmm.
internal response.
Hmm.
So let's say we decide to be joyful from now forever.
Hmm.
Who has the capability to disturb our peace? Nobody,
Hmm.
because it's my choice.
Hmm.
To be joyful or not is a
Hmm.
personal choice,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
once you made it, it's forever.
Hmm.
Just like you don't every day brush your teeth. Nobody is checking, hey, did I brush your teeth? Yes or no?
Hmm.
No, nobody checks. It's my choice.
Hmm.
I want to brush my teeth morning, evening, it's good. Like
Hmm.
that, you say 24/7, if I'm waking up, I am joyful, nobody can stop it. I
Hmm.
mean, it will look artificial if some really tragedy happens. So, of course, there are moments of it. That's why every rule has an exception. So, there are some
Hmm.
exceptions. But joy should not be the exception that you search for. Joy should be the rule that you live by.
Hmm. Yeah, man. It's my new religion, 2022.
Yes. And also, if you think about
Only
it,
joy. Yes.
if anybody meets you, it comes out even without you speaking a word, because the inner peace is always displayed in the external world. You wear the inner peace. Whether you are disturbed, joyful, you just show up and people know. Yeah, you have some level of inner peace that is uncommon. I'm sure people have told you this.
Hmm. Yeah, calmness.
Yes.
Yes, I'm very calm. Thank you for this. So let me ask you a question. All right, so let's segue a little bit because you had mentioned I don't need scale. I'm interested in building relationships, right? So your content that you put out since for years and years, actually, I remember you talked about blogging 2012, right? For my research. So you've been constantly generating content. So tell me about how do you balance generating content and also building relationships? Because our
Mm,
mutual friend Esprit, she said 90-10. She said
mm,
90% is relationship building for her outreach to specific people, and then 10% is just content. So that's her sort of internal metrics. How do you think about generation of content and also the effort to build relationships?
First of all, I don't connect the two because I'm a
Uh-huh.
writer. I write
Uh-huh.
every single day. Whether I publish or not, I write every day. Since I
Mm-hmm.
was 10 years old, I've written at least one page every single day.
Mm.
So, and a lot of it is for my own satisfaction. So, and I reflect every day. And all the content that I generate comes because I'm involved in some project helping someone for money or no money. So I need some lesson that I think if I abstract it out, some other people somewhere in the world might find value from there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's all about by doing what am I observing. If I observe a little bit more with higher fidelity, what insight can I generate that I can share? And I'm not expecting million people to read because I don't need million people. So once they reach it, it will make somebody say, aha, I didn't think of it, isn't it? So, and I'm involved in content generation every day. And then I'm involved in solving problems every day. I'm involved in teaching someone something. All three will be a good virtuous cycle. So, like if I'm teaching, what will people say? Like somebody like you will ask me really deeper questions that will help me in generating better content because I go back and rewatch this interview. CK asked me this question. Did I do the right job? What else could I have said? Now, in my new blog post or somewhere, I'll do it. And then when I'm solving problems, I get deeper insight just reading what I wrote and say, have I applied this? Why have I not applied this? If I do apply it, because I have enough people who are I'm mentoring, so there are enough projects to use my content and see if it works in real life. If it does not work in real life, or if it works in real life, I get more bang for the bucks. Like my content is more stronger, my teaching is far better, my execution is far better. The trifecta always works
I love it. So you have a daily writing practice. You
every day.
have a daily publishing practice as well. Do you
No,
publish every day? You don't
no. I
always write.
used to do that when I was 2005 when I started blogging. I used to say, every day I will write, and I did it well. But then I thought, what is my purpose? My purpose is to create more value.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is better that if I get an idea, I try it, execute it through one or more of my companies I'm involved in, and I hone it and keep betting better and better and better. And then I publish it. Like, for example, I was working on a project called Why Do Some People Get Help and Most People Don't? Most people don't get the help they're looking for. And
Mm-hmm.
I said it depends on what is called helpability. Helpability.
Helpability.
Yeah.
I. Oh my gosh, you're just amazing. I love it. Keep
So I
going.
came up with a helpability score. So
Yeah.
basically, I said, if how does somebody assess whether they are helpable or not? They should have a metric. So and there's no metric because there's no scale, liters, meters, kilometers, nothing, right? So I made up my own score. So I was going strong on it until one of my friends, Sterling, who's a dear friend, he's also going through Parkinson's. He's an amazing internet marketer. He said, Raj, this is good, but it's one of those nice terms that you generated, but come on, this has to be easier than that. I said, what do you mean? He said, nobody will say, you didn't get the help because your helpability score is less. That looks so artificial. I said, what do you have in mind? He said, let's think of a conversation. Somebody just didn't get the help they need. And then you say something like this. Maybe you had a bad ask. You should make a good ask. If you make a good ask, you'll get better help.
What was
So
the
I
word that
changed
you
the
used? What was the word?
bad ask versus good
A
ask.
bad ask. Good ask.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I immediately switched it and pushed the helpability into the background. And I said, how the art of making good asks. To get what you deserve, you have to make a good ask. And I came up with
That's
a framework,
banger. I love it. Oh my
because
gosh.
the helpability is still there, but it's hidden
Yeah,
inside.
yeah, 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 yeah. Huh.
So I learn, and so rather than publishing it, I'm still refining, and I say I'll teach this to some people, and I say, let me show you how to make a good ask. And there are
I
like
love
nine
it.
different elements. How do you work through the element, the framework, and everything. But if I
Mm,
had the temptation to publish the helpability soon, then it would not be tested enough.
mm, I love it. Man, um, so many. I mean, number one, I definitely want a copy of the book when it comes out. So
Definitely.
Yeah, please send them to me, and I'll ask all of my audience to buy it.
Yes.
So,
And I say, you know what? Because I'm in love with words, right? I said, if you practice good asks, you will be a badass. If you stay with bad asks, either you'll be bad or you'll stay as an ass, like that.
it's kind of like, it reminds me of this quote: "The quality of a life depends on the quality of the question that we ask." So
Hundred
you can
percent.
say something similar, right? The quality of our life depends on the quality of ask that you
Yes,
have of yourself, of others, of the world, of God. Depends on
hundred
the
percent.
quality of ask that you have.
You know what I've observed is, if you make a really good ask, the ask will not even look like an ask. It look like you're presenting an opportunity for the other person.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yep.
that's where the ultimate ask is one where you're
Mm-hmm.
presenting an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
side effect of that person signing up for the opportunity is that you get what you want, they
Mm-hmm.
get what they deserve. Both of you get what you deserve.
The best entrepreneurs that I know operate like that, what you just
Hmm.
said. Because it's not like, hey, can you do, like, the bad ask would be, I don't know, I want this, do it, right? That's a really, really bad ask. A better one would be, hey, can you do me a favor? Like, so you're doing some kind of favor, some, you know, social currency happening. But the best kind of ask is, hey, I have an opportunity and I'll pay you this. You do it, you get money, and then da da da. Everyone feels good about it. It's like, of course, yeah, and people jump on
Yeah.
it. So
The
if
monster.
you have some kind of training or methodology to help
Yeah.
people get to that, and that's money right there.
See, if you think about it, all you have to do is, everybody is going somewhere in their life by default, isn't it? They're going somewhere. Your ask has to be in alignment with where they are going. But by engaging with this, their own path becomes better or even faster. But this, I didn't think of that. I would have done this for free. You are paying me money. It's like a bonus kind of thing. But if
Mm-hmm.
you make your want a collection of side effects of everybody else doing their default stuff, then you make magic happen on a daily basis because everybody is doing something. A side effect of it you are collecting and you are just mixing and matching and you create a masterpiece. Then you are not even
Mm.
asking, isn't it? It just happens. You just become a choreographer of those various things that other people would have done anyway.
I mean, if you think about it, that's the how movement got started,
Yes.
right? The Declaration of Independence.
Hmm.
That's an ask. That's like
Yes.
declaring, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Who wants that? Join
Yeah.
us. Boom, right there. I have a dream. It's an ask. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful ask, nonetheless.
Yeah.
That this is the vision of my children and black family, white family coming together and sharing a meal. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful ask. It's a vision that's very
Correct.
enrolling.
Yeah, in the
Hmm.
just to double click on the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So again, there is the last one is the double-edged sword, the pursuit of happiness. So if the people think they have to pursue happiness, then that's where the marketers will hijack their mind, because then they will show things. This vacuum cleaner, if you don't have it, you should be unhappy because it's dark and dingy and everything. Once you have it, voila, there is light everywhere and your house is clean. No, you don't need anything. So, see, the moment you believe it, now until you have that vacuum cleaner, you are unhappy. That's where we have to be so careful when you say pursuit of happiness is you don't need to pursue anything. That's why how are the minimalists happy? They don't have anything. In fact, I was listening to an interview of one minimalist where he carries everything in a backpack, and the person was like, "Is there anybody who is more minimalist than you?" He said, "Yeah, there is." I said, "How is it even possible?" He said, "This person, like Rick from Australia, he goes from country to another country without anything." He said, "You won't carry clothes?" No. He goes there and he goes to a thrift store and he buys the clothes. And when he is leaving the country, he gives back it to the store and then asks them to give it to charity, something. So there is people, and is he happy? Yes, because there's nothing to maintain, zero.
Yeah.
So when the moment people see, people always copy what is convenient for them, isn't it? When you give an
Mm,
advice, like for example, Steve Jobs, rather than copying his attention to detail and his innovativeness, they will copy. He was screaming and all those things. So,
mm,
so slice of his life, you by
mm,
screaming and being tough on your employees, nothing will happen unless you also have everything. Either you copy as a whole and not copy that's easy to copy, easy to implement.
mhm,
So
mhm.
pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and pursuit, good. But you can always question and say, I'm already happy. There's nothing
Yeah,
to pursue.
to that point, personally, this is my personal opinion, and this may be hearsay to the hardcore nationalists of a Declaration of Independence. I think the word "pursuit of
Hmm.
happiness" imply that you don't have it, hence why
Ah,
you need to pursue it,
I
right?
agree.
So for me, the more accurate terms would be an expression of your joy, like
Beautiful.
because you already have it, as you said, right? It's intrinsic. You already have it. How do you make your life an expression of your joy? So life,
Hmm.
liberty, and an expression of your joy, to me, is more accurately described versus a pursuit of happiness.
I'm 100% with you. In fact, if you see life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness says you should have a bias for action. That means you have to act to get that happiness. But if you change the bias to contribution, things go very different. You
Mm,
can have a bias for action or you can have a bias for contribution. The way you look at life is very different when you have a bias for action rather than when you have a bias for contribution. Like you said,
mm,
life, liberty, and expression of joy. You can say life, liberty, and spreading of joy because I have so much in
mm,
abundance.
mm,
I want to spread joy. Imagine every single person in this country says, my goal is to spread joy.
mm,
Not every single person, even 10% of the, even 1% of the problem is solved. Newspapers will have no business because they are only spreading fear and uncertainty and like blowing out of proportion, but they will not know what to do.
um, man, I can go on forever. Do you have a little bit more time to go a little longer? Is that
I have
cool?
all the time in the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So let's focus, bring back to the how you build relationships
Hmm.
online or offline, really, because you make your content. That's part of your ritual. That's what you do, and you're a teacher at heart. I could tell, right? You can't help it. You're teaching all
Yes.
the time, right? Even this conversation, you're teaching me a lot. So thank you. So talk about relationships, and I'm asking this question, selfishly for me, because I don't actively do outreach. So when I hear Esprit says 10 and 90, I'm like, what? I don't do that. And then I'm doing this as my way of cultivating relationship with people that I admire. So how do you go about building relationships in a very strategic, in a very but also organic way?
So now that we know each other very well, I'll tell you something. If you don't do outreach organically, the world is suffering. I'll tell you, I'm
Mm,
not using the words just like willy nilly. Right? The reason is somebody as thoughtful as you is waiting for somebody to be transformed because you are not comfortable reaching out.
mm,
You're robbing people of opportunity. And
mm.
I know it's being recorded, so I'm okay to have this in record. Because what
Mhm.
happens if every CKL in thousand of them chose this? I'm not comfortable outreach. Almost every episode on your podcast is amazing because you are very thoughtful, curious person. So somebody like you, whether you're comfortable or not, should market. Why? Because it's a gift to the world.
Mm,
So you may not be comfortable, then hire a marketer. Who
mm,
cares? Because if you don't get amazing stuff marketed, they're busy with Netflix and see whatever news channel they're watching.
mm,
They need interruption in a good way. Interruption is good if it is good, high value, relevant, and timely content.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
almost it doesn't matter what you feel or what you care. If you think it's good, the content, you owe it to yourself and the world that you go and get it out, whatever it takes. Who
mm,
cares what many people think? This CK used to be good. Now he's all over the place. He's doing this ads and everything. But really, if it was not good, you should not market. It's crime.
Mm,
But if it is good and not marketing, it's also a crime,
mm,
isn't it? It's a
mm.
different kind of crime, isn't it? If somebody needs this right now, but you know what, CK, I am not comfortable marketing. That's not fair, isn't it?
Okay.
So that's something to think about,
Point
because
taken. Point
it's
taken.
it's important that the right content reaches the right people. And
Mm,
you know that people need to see it so many times before they say, I'm going to watch CK's podcast.
mm.
It's not like murder mystery or something. Oh, what happened? Who is the killer? And all. No, it requires attention. It requires work. So
Mm,
the transformation is slower. That means we have to work harder to make
mm,
these people just pay attention. And
mm.
then they come in once, and then again they're interrupted by the next, like gray man or something, and they're out. Now we have to bring them back. So one thing is, so there's something to think about, that whether you're comfortable or uncomfortable, it really doesn't matter. Who- Doesn't matter. Does the world is the world going to be a better place if this content reaches different people? You and I
So
know that it's yes.
so point taken. I received the coaching. Thank you for that. What do you do to actively do it? Do you think? Hold on one second. My echo is talking to me. Echo,
Yes,
stop.
I know.
She agrees with you. So, what do you do in terms of managing relationships, outreach,
Yeah.
especially giving all your teachings, all your books, everything that you do?
Yeah, typically I have a few principles in mind. So I always think, if there is a right kind of help, I always think I should give them the right kind of help, either through me or somebody that I know,
Mm-hmm.
but in a mutually beneficial fashion. When it comes to me, I don't care about mutual beneficial. I care about whether it's benefiting them. If I'm introducing someone, I'm always caring about mutual benefit. Why? Because they don't know each other, and it should not be an imbalance in relationship, isn't it? So I always think. So my life, I've kept it very simple. I only have three kinds of relationships: long term, very long term, and lifetime. So I always
I like it.
default to lifetime relationships. Why? Because that's a hack for myself. When I have a lifetime relationship, I don't have to worry about ups and downs. I don't have to test them. I don't have to
Mm,
see, oh, they're a lifetime relationship. Should I de-promote them to the very long term? No. It's once somebody is in your heart, you don't have to worry about things.
mm,
Second, I'm a low maintenance relationship person. That means I always tell people that with me, you don't have to worry about keeping in touch. It's
mm,
not based on frequency. So
mm,
let's say you disappear for 5 years and call me on 5 years later. The length and the strength and depth of the relationship will be exactly the same. And
mm,
you think you can do it, you ask my friends. They'll call me 5 years, it will be the same, because I choose it to be like that.
mm,
Because if it is a high maintenance, now they have to keep thinking, I have to keep in touch with Rajesh. I have to keep. Why have the burden? Just give them the freedom, because it's not based on the frequency. Second, I don't remember their birthdays, anniversaries, or anything. Always remember, what does this person care about, and where
mm,
is this person going. If I remember only those two things, I'm always looking for opportunities for them, in
mm,
the way I can care about what they are caring about, and I can add some value in where they are going and what they are becoming. So it becomes easy for me. So, and I don't expect anything back, by God's grace. I don't need anything. If something comes, I treat it as a gift. But if something doesn't come, I was not expecting anyway. So every day it will be full of surprises for me, positive surprises. Somebody sent me something. It's all more than what I need. So
mm,
when you have that no expectation kind of relationship, half the problem is solved, because there is no need to keep score,
mm.
isn't it?
I love that. That's a abundance mindset right there, right? Because the only reason why one would keep score is there's a scarcity mindset, right? What's mine? What's yours? Let's make sure that
Yeah.
it's equal, fair, equitable, this and that. But when you're coming from an abundance mindset, then you don't track score. However, so I have I love in challenging your way. The strength of a relationship, my perspective, is based on how much you invest into it. So
Mm.
therefore, yes, there could be a 5-year break with no deterioration, right? No decay of the value. However, to elevate, right, the depth of the relationship, one needs to invest into it, right? It's an account that both of you, invest into it. So I'm curious to know your perspective around maybe not a regular frequency, but frequency in investment nonetheless. What do you say to that?
It's a very, very good point. So I always think the investment uh, is if it is based on input, then it's a different matter. If it's based on outcome, so remember I said you need to ability to give meaningful gifts at scale at a very low incremental cost to you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
My cost of investment, I can design it to be very small, as long as the value of that investment, outcome to the other person, the gift to the other person is very high.
uh-huh,
So, it's anything at scale. It's very easy. It's like, for example, if I want to give away somebody my course, what did it really cost me? Think about it.
mm-hmm,
Incremental cost is one click.
mm-hmm,
But if the course is really worth thousands of dollars,
mm-hmm,
then it's valuable to the other person.
mm-hmm,
So, by having tools of value scaling,
mm-hmm,
you can change that metric to your advantage. So basically, if you know exactly how to connect two people that both will thank me for that later, that thoughtfulness is another tool to value scaling. Like last year, I made about 450 introductions. Previous year to that, I made 700 introductions. So now,
wow,
did it take time? Yes. The first year when I heard this concept from Tim Sanders, it was in 2003,
mm-hmm,
that you can generate value by making valuable introductions.
mm-hmm,
I asked him, how many introductions do you make? Because he said, why do you ask? He said, no, I just settling in this country. I have 25 people. They all know each other. So what should I do? He said, he laughed and said, you should start wherever you are. Uh, I don't know whether you like this answer, but I make about 300 introductions a year. I said,
mm-hmm,
really? That's almost one a day. He said, I told you, you may not like the answer, but
mm-hmm,
it's what it is. So I said, what about other people who are very good in building relationships? Yeah, they may make more, but I'm only at 300. So I just came back thinking, what a hill to climb. I am making one introduction a year. This person is making 300 introductions a year. That was in 2003. It took me about 11 years to reach that 300 number.
mm-hmm,
So per year. But once you're there, you just become it's a part of your life. Like when you
mm-hmm,
meet this somebody new, always think, who all should CK meet? What kind of people should CK interview? Who in my network will give so much value to their readers? You didn't ask me for introductions, but it's my default setting. How can I amplify what CK is doing? Because that's the way I look at life, and it
mm,
becomes easy.
mm. Do you use it, so tactically speaking, do you use like a CRM or things like that, or just in your memory?
Never used a CRM. No plans to
Wow.
use a CRM.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. That's awesome.
Because I
Uh
don't need anything more. I don't need their birthdays, anniversaries. Very rarely anybody will get a call on their birthday. But
uh-huh.
if there is something of value, they will hear from me. And the way I look at things is whenever I make a phone call, am I making it for me or for them? Nine
Mm,
out of 10 phone calls have to be for the other person. Only one
mm,
out of 10 should be for me. If that ratio
mm.
changes, then something is wrong. I'm not doing something right.
Yeah, your identity as a value creator is very strong. So
Yes,
you want to give value at all times. That's a
correct.
beautiful thing. I love it. Um, okay, so on your LinkedIn profile, you wrote, "I'm a work in progress,
Yes.
meaning I guarantee my work, but leave the progress to God." So let's talk about God a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
basically, I'm always worried about my ego taking over. So I
Mm-hmm.
never want to think that I've done something, this and that and everything. But in my heart of heart, I always believe that I'm a work in progress because in this interview just now, you asked me a few questions that nobody has ever asked. I already made a note. I have to come back to this section and then I made a note of what times it is. And then I go back and not only I write down better answers, I also discuss with my mentors what could I have done here better. Because it's whenever there's a tool of leverage, I have to treat it with care because it's multiplier effect, isn't it? If I do a good job, when there is multiplier effect, it multiplies in value. So these thoughtful questions that you asked, I think I gave a reasonably good answer, but it's not the best because I can go back and revisit some of them. And I have to do it because otherwise I'm not doing justice to myself, isn't it? That's why I always say work in progress. And I can, at this point in time, this was the best answer I could give. No, if I had thought through, I could give a better answer. So I always say, this is what it is. And the progress is left to God, is because any progress we make, to think that we alone were making that progress will be a faulty thinking because so many things have to come right. Like for this, the system that we're using, StreamYard should be working right. The camera should be working right. The internet should not be off. Somebody should be calling. So many things have to happen. And if we both think we both made it happen, that's a fallacy. So I always think there is God or whatever. If they don't, people don't believe in God, there is something out there. Whatever it is, it's higher power that is that's blessed this and said, let this be a good conversation. So I
Mm,
always think, thank you for that opportunity. So that keeps me with ego is checked and
I love
in
it.
balance.
I mean, in your explanation, it just shows me your commitment to the effort.
Yes,
You're gonna make your effort, your honest effort, and then you also are not attached to the outcome, to the progress,
yes,
to the thing, because you know that you have put forth your best effort, and that's the only thing we could do. We
yeah,
can't control other people. We can control the greater universe. We can control the greater society. The only thing we have control over is our attention and also our effort.
exactly. See, you talked before about everything is a conversation. There are two things that will make a big difference in anybody's life: the kind of projects they undertake and the kind of conversations they engage. So look at both of them in one minute. The kind of projects decides and determines the kind of conversations you will have. If you work on a big project that is solving something bigger than what it is, like a mental health or anything, automatically there will be more people who will come to support. There are more people who will say yes, more better conversations. And if you think about conversation, there are only two kinds. One is with external conversations, second is internal conversations. If you look at external conversation, there are only three kinds. So it's basically, no, in the temporal way, there is about past, present, and future. There can't be
Hmm.
anything else. You can't talk about any other temporal space other than past, present, and future.
Hmm.
And if you do the reframe properly about the past, you can have regrets or you can take insights and use the power. About the present, you can talk about the gratitude of this. I'm here, whatever got me here. I'm grateful for it, and then I will do something. And about the future, you can have fear, uncertainty, or you can have reimagination. This is the
Hmm.
future everybody is imagining. What am I imagining? So if you control these two, on the external, it's even easy. If you control who you are having conversations with, the right people will guide the conversation right anyway.
Hmm.
Internal is where the problem is. If no, the monkey mind will take over and always think about he should not have done this. And somebody says that, I said, how important is this he you are talking about? No, not very important. Then why is it taking over your life? The person is not even important. Why do you give so much attention? People forget that if the person is not important in their life, why do they give so much importance to what he or she said? It makes no sense. But if you don't check it, then it's a problem. So I always think every thought is a paying guest. So that means if a thought enters my mind, it has to pay me something
Mm.
because I'm giving them real estate space. If
Mm.
the paying guest comes and starts demanding from the landlord, then it's not good, isn't
Mm.
it? So I say, oh, am I paying this thought? I send them an eviction notice. Go
Oh.
away because I'm not paying for anything.
Mm.
Thoughts have to pay me.
Mm.
So people always say, you should not write anything on the internet that you don't want to. It has to be permanently captured. I said, if you don't even think about bad things, then there's nothing to write. You
Mm,
curtail it at the thought level. You don't wish bad for anyone, then there's nothing to write, isn't it? You forget about, then you can write whatever you want because you're sure that the intention is pure. Then what is there to worry about?
yeah. So segue, and this would be probably the last question or the last couple of questions. Um, as a technologist, as a teacher, as an author, as a creator, what platforms excite you the most about reaching the kind of people who will resonate with you?
See, there are two answers to that question. One is
Hmm.
that I'm always about curated, anything curated, I always like because, say, for example, if I take, what would be a good example? Like, for example, Harvard Business Review, for example.
Hmm.
So for those kinds of projects, I know that everything is curated. There is a number of people who have vetted it and everything. When I read something, I don't have to worry about the source, or I don't have to worry about is will this be of value to me. So, for example, take your own podcast. After listening to four or five of them, I put them in the list. Now I know that anytime I want to hear, I just click one. I don't care who you are talking to. I know that there is value there. So, like for example, Farnham Street Knowledge Project. So I know that it'll always be good. It doesn't matter who we. So I'm about all about curation. So wherever there is curated thing, like for in the newsletters, there is a person called Janelle. I don't know whether you've heard of her. Tiny something. So I look forward to that newsletter because it's a very short newsletter, but she has something called whatever she found interesting. So I say, oh, this is a discovery platform. So the
Mm,
newsletter, I look at it. What did Janelle find interesting? So I always look and say, it's my hack to gain capacity at scale without
mm.
having to spend this so much of incremental cost.
Well, but that wasn't quite the question that I asked, right? I asked not so much from the consuming aspect
Oh
of
yeah,
it,
yeah, from the creation aspect.
from the creation aspect of it. Which
Oh yeah,
platform do you use as a way to reach the kind of people who were
yeah.
more likely to resonate with you?
See, I'm always see there is an implication that I use a platform of which is online to reach people.
Hmm.
I'm very big on I'm very old school. So some of the things that this you saw the I don't know whether you saw this thing, the
Hmm.
greeting cards.
Hmm.
It is still very manual. So and everything that there are so many books that are manual. Like this was the first think book that I created,
Mm,
and if you see, I use it as a notebook. But if you open it, there is stuff that will make people think.
mm, 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 mm.
So it's all written. So I'm always believing that people somehow have forgotten the offline value. But I always like offline more than online
Mm,
because there is some, it's very difficult to multitask with a book.
mm,
What do you do? I mean, you cannot run around, but online, it's easy to, somebody else is one click away from grabbing attention.
mhm,
So I use all the online tools, all the LinkedIn and Twitter and all those things to test ideas. But sooner than later, I want something in physical where there is people, serious stuff has to be, it has to have some physical aspect to it.
mm, mm, mhm.
I know it's
Beautiful.
really, really old school, but I have to say it.
No, no, it's not old school at all. I love it. Author who loves books. Who,
Yes.
of course, that's obvious.
There is so many opportunities that are like I have a site called Napkin Sites, which is inside
Hmm.
that can fit on a paper napkin. At some point, there will be actual physical napkins that will have pattern interrupts.
Mm,
So they will be there because think about it. There are paper napkins everywhere. There are probably a billion being used every day. And
mm.
then there is white paper napkin ready to be making a change in somebody's life. And we lost that opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah. Napkins as a knowledge transfer medium. I love it.
Yes. We can change somebody's thinking one paper napkin at a time like that.
Mm. Rajesh, I so appreciate Esprit introduced us.
Yes.
I'm very inspired by just your passion for life. your equanimity, your ability to maintain a growth mindset, whatever life throws your way, Parkinson's or not. I appreciate your creative mind, how much, actively creation that you do every day. 18 books and you're still going strong. This is not the end of Rajesh. This is only the beginning. I just love it. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your wisdom, your mental models, and to be able to dance in this conversation with me.
I so much enjoyed this conversation that I'll be the first person to rewatch this, and then say where all I can improve, and then I will come back stronger. That's you gave me the gift of a few questions. I can't ask for anything more, and so much of gratitude goes to Esprit because we were there in the same class. We would not have met because we both are introverts. That's our
Uh-huh.
problem. So that got changed because Esprit said, "I know you both will not meet on your own. Here is the introduction," like that.
There you go. I love it. Well, with that said, have a great rest of the day, guys. And then, well, we'll be in touch soon. And
Thank you so much.
podcast.